Geometry in 9th standard. We are going to learn as a new subject which is of 40 marks. Geometry of 40 marks written, algebra 40, total 80 marks written exam of this subject, and 20 marks you will get from school as internal marks. Students, in this year we are going to learn the very first chapter of 9th standard, that is basic concepts in geometry. The name of the chapter is basic concepts in geometry. Basic concepts in geometry. As you know well, there are three basic concepts in geometry, that are: number one, point. Point is the first basic concept in geometry. Second one, line, and third one is the plane. Point, line and plane are the three basic concepts in geometry. As in arithmetic, if you go in the arithmetic in algebra, that is, suppose numbers. If you think of numbers, these numbers cannot be defined. They are undefined terms. Numbers cannot be defined. In same way in geometry also, if we see first, that is point. Point is a undefined term. Point is not defined. We can't give the definition of point. It means that then how to understand the point by day-to-day life, in day-to-day life? Then for that, what we have to do? We have to understand that point by some ideas. For example, we shall take the example of that point to understand, because we can't define it. There is no definition, there is no proper definition of point. For example, how to understand the point then? A finest dot, which cannot be seen by bare eyes, as finest dot made on the paper, made on the board, gives an idea of point. By this we get an idea of point, but this is called as a point. This is not the system in this geometry, because it is not defined by any scientist, any mathematician. And this point is noted. This dot, just a finest dot. Finest means it's as I drawn that dot on the board clearly. For what? For you look clearly, you see clearly, that's why. Otherwise it is very finest. And this point we note it by capital letter like A. So we call this as point A, point B, point C, and so on. So what do you understand by this word? So point is the basic concept in geometry which is not defined, which is undefined term, but this point we have to understand by some ideas. These ideas means what? The finest dot made on a paper, the finest dot made on a board. Finest dot is the basic idea to understand the point. And notation of the point is that any dot, that we call it as point A. So A is the letter which denotes this as point A, point B, point C, and so on. Secondly, we go for the line. The second basic concept in geometry is line. Again same thing. Line is the basic concept in geometry which one is also not defined. It is also undefined term in geometry. So to understand the line, what we shall have to do? We have to understand this line by some ideas again. So these ideas we shall get in day-to-day life like that. The stretched string gives an idea of line. Again, the edge of ruler, the edge of board, edge of pen, edge of this board, you get an idea of line. Stretched string, the string which is attached to the kite, but in that kite we don't consider the slack. This, without considering the slack, we shall consider that this is a straight. It is not a, there is no any slack in this string, and this gives an idea of line. And now line word is nothing but is represented by arrows, putting arrows on both the ends, both ends. These arrows gives information, says that the line is infinite from both ends. It is infinite from both ends. And as we know that, we can say that in set theory learned in algebra, this line is a set of infinite points. Line is a set of infinite points. As we learn in the first point, that is the basic concept that as point, and that infinite points is nothing but forming a line. This line again is not defined. It is a basic concept which comes and by idea, like edge of ruler, edge of board, edge of notebook, edge of ruler, and like that one. And these arrows gives us that the line is infinite from both sides. Line is a set of infinite points. There are innumerable points on this line. There are infinite points on this line. And that's why we can notation, how to say, how to write the line. So there are two ways to represent the line by notation. Number one, you can take any 2 points like this. Suppose this point I noted as A on the line by capital letter, and this point I have taken as B as capital letter, and then I say that this is the line AB. This is the line AB. This is the one way to represent the line, to give the notation of line by 2 letters. The 2 letters we have to represent on the line, and that point you have to write in capital form, capital letters as A, capital, B, capital, and we say that line AB. This is the one thing. Or secondly, if you want to represent the line, then you can represent it by another way also, and that is nothing but, suppose this is a line, we put the arrows, this is L. So simple letter, one letter, by single letter we can write the line also. By this, for this, we will write the small letter at the end of the arrow, and we read it as line L. So you learn these 2 terms in the basic concept. Number one, once I will again revise this. Point and line are the basic concepts in geometry, and definitely you have to remember always the point and line are not defined terms. These are the undefined terms. These are only studied by some ideas. Number one, point by putting a finest dot, line that is by come to understand by the ruler, edge of board, edge of that your notebook. A stretched string gives an idea of line. Notation of line is that line can be noted by 2 ways. Number one, by putting 2 points, by taking 2 points A and B, capital letters, and we read it as line AB. And secondly, we can put that small letter at the end of arrow, and we read it as line L. Line is a set of infinite points. Remember this always. Line is undefined term. Line is infinite from both the ends. Clear? You got this now? I think. Now, secondly and third point is our, that is plane. Plane. Again, in same way, in basic concept geometry, in the title of chapter, there are three basic concepts: point, line and plane. We studied these two, point and line. Now, simultaneously we can learn this plane. Again, plane is a basic concept, third basic concept in geometry. Again, it is undefined term, it cannot be defined. No definition is given by any mathematician. So, plane. Again, plane we have to study by some ideas. For example, the plane surface of table, plane surface of this board, plane surface of your notebook gives an idea of plane. Plane surface means smooth. Plane surface means smooth surface of the board, gives an idea of plane. Smooth surface of your table gives an idea of plane. Smooth surface of your notebook gives an idea of plane. By this we can understand what type of plane will be imagination. Will be imagined. So, plane, point and line are the only three basic things that can be imagined only by some ideas. Again, if you see, as line is a set of infinite points, in same way plane is also the set of infinite points. And there are four. Here there are two ends to the plane, but plane can be extended infinitely from all four sides. So, this is infinite from this side, the plane is infinite from this side, plane is infinite from this side, and plane is again infinite from this side. So, plane is infinite from all four sides. It is the set of infinite points. So, remember this, line is a set of infinite points, whereas plane is also the set of infinite points. Plane, line and point, plane, line and point are the undefined terms. Notation of plane. Notation. How to represent the plane? So, again, see, in same way as we noted point as A, point B and point C. We noted line by two ways, line AB and line L. In same way, plane can be noted by a single letter, by putting capital letter like plane H, plane H, plane H. So, we read it as plane H. You may write this letter H here also, plane E, like that. So, by single letter we can write the notation, we can write the name of the plane, and after understanding that the plane is a set of infinite points, need not to be put these arrows at the four ends. This is to be understand only, we have to remember only the plane is infinite from all four sides. It is not just to put the arrows on, just like you put the arrows on the line at the ends. In same way, we do not necessary to write the arrows at the four ends of the plane. That is to be understand, that is to be remembered, that is to be memorized, clear. So, these are the three basic concepts in geometry. Dear students, these three terms, point, line and plane, are not the objects. Anybody will go in the market and will ask to the shopkeeper, please give me the point and line and a plane. No, nobody will give it. But by this we can understand the edge of the ruler, edge of the notebook, edge of the plane, that is a line, a dot, finest dot made on the paper, that gives us the idea of point, and the plane, the smooth surface or the plane surface of the table gives an idea of plane. In further study of the geometry, the line, this line word comes in the frequently in study, that will be as a straight line, because in this year and in 10th standard we are going to learn the geometry which is the Euclidean geometry, and Euclid only gives the ideas of straight line, and that's why line means what? A straight line, but always need not to write a straight line, it is to understand it is a line means it is a straight. Plane is infinite, means need not to be draw the arrows, just like this line, and that's why while putting the line, if in geometry construction also, whenever you draw the line, many of the students ask, of what length the line is to be drawn? No. How you can draw the length of line? How you can ask the question like this, the 5 centimeter length of line? No. Line has no any length. It is infinite from both ends. So line you draw, just draw line, then you put the arrows compulsory. So, and again one thing, while putting the arrows at the end of the line, that should be also again very neat and clean. So these are the 3 basic concepts in geometry: point, line and plane. I think you got it. Second point of the study in this chapter is that is coordinate. So I will start that coordinate point again. So I think you understand this well. The second part, this one was the first part of the chapter, that is basic concepts in geometry, the title of the chapter, in which point, line and plane are the 3 basic concepts we studied in detail. Second point of the study is that coordinates of point. Coordinates of a point. Coordinates of point. As we know that in S standard or in earlier standard in algebra, in arithmetic, you learn the number line, you know well number line. Again I will once again revise that line, which one is a straight. We can put the line L like that, at the line L, M, N, O, P, any letter we can put that one at the end of the arrow. But as I say that this is a number line, then I take the points on this number line. For example, that is suppose 0 means this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 and so on, infinite. Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6 and so on. So these are the numbers I have taken on this number line. You know that well. This is the right side, which one is the representing the positive coordinates, and this one representing left side is the negative coordinates. So this is point O. Suppose we consider this is A, this is B, this is C, D, E, F, G and H. We can consider same way L, M, N, P, Q and R. These are the points I have taken on the number line. On this number line, again one thing remember, line is a set of infinite points. There are infinite points, but I have taken that one point that I want to present to you. So I have represented this point as A, this point as B. It doesn't mean that there are no points in between this A and B. There are infinite points in between the A and B also. But I have shown only A and B for your understanding. So A is the point, B is the point. And now in this real number, the real number line, we know that this is the 1 unit distance. This is the 1 unit distance. Every point is at the equal distance. This is the 1 unit distance we called. Now point A is denoted by the number 1. Point C is denoted by number 3. Point F is denoted by number 6. Point P is denoted by number 4. Point M is denoted by number -2. So these are the numbers and these are the points. These numbers and these points have correlation. They have a correlation that is also be called as associated. This word is also, you have to remember, associate and denote. For example, I will once again revise this. Number 1 is associated with point A. Number 2 is associated with point B. Number 5 is associated with point E. Number 7 is associated with point G. -2 is associated with point M. -3 is associated with point N. minus 6 is associated with point R. So the language you may change by your own. So we can say that the numbers are denoted by the points or the numbers are associated with a point. So the definition of the coordinates of the point can be defined as the number denoted by a point is called coordinate of that point. So 1 is the coordinate of point A, 2 is the coordinate of point B, 3 is the coordinate of point C, 4 is the coordinate of point D, 6 is the coordinate of point F, and so on. So the numbers denoted by the points are the coordinates. In same way, if you go to the left of the origin, 0 is the coordinate of point O, minus 1 coordinate of point L, minus 4 coordinate of point P, minus 6 coordinate of point R. It means that the numbers associated with a point is called the coordinate of that point. One thing we have to remember again, if once a point is associated with any one of the points, then that number will not be associated with any other point on that number line. For example, 2 is associated with point B. Now on this number line there will be no point which is associated with point 2, which is associated to, that no point will be there which has a number associated as 2. It means that it is unique real number. So you can define this in another way also, a unique real number associated with a point. Unique real number associated with a point is called coordinate of that point, or unique real number denoted by a point is called coordinate of that point. Now, after coordinates, definition of coordinates, we have to learn what the basic role that coordinates are playing on the number line. You know well, on this number line, these coordinates to right of the origin are the positive coordinates and left of the origin are the negative coordinates. What that negative and positive signs of that coordinate represent? That remember this always, that positive and negative signs of the coordinate represent their directions. So the plus 2 will represent point B is at the right side 2 units from origin. Point D is at 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, is at 4 units to the right side of the origin. If I say that point Q, if you count that units from the point from where you have to measure their distance. For example, if you want to find at what distance point Q is from L, then measure their units from that point. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. It is at 4 unit distance. And same way, if I count this from origin, so 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Clear? And that's why this negative sign on the number line represents the direction which is at the left of the origin, and positive sign represents the direction which is at the right side of the origin. This is the number line and this is the coordinate of the point. So you have to remember these coordinates of the point as a definition. The number, the unique real number, these are the real numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5 and so on are the real numbers. They are unique. Why they are unique? Because once a point is associated, once a number is associated with a point, that number will not be associated with any other point again on that number line, and that's why this is the unique real number. And so definition of the coordinates of a point is that the unique real number associated with a point is called the coordinate of that point. Again, we have to study the third point of the chapter, that is called as the distance. So what we have to look now here? Distance between the points. The basic knowledge you should need to learn the distance between the points, that is the larger coordinates and smaller coordinates. You know that every point on the number line which is associated with a unique real number, and every coordinate at the right side is always greater than the number which is on the left side. For example, we shall start from here. 8 is to the right of the 7, and that's why 8 is greater than 7, 7 is greater than 6, 6 is greater than 5, 5 is greater than 4, 4 is greater than 3. In same way, minus 1 is greater than minus 2, minus 2 is greater than minus 3, minus 3 is greater than minus 4, and minus 4 is greater than minus 5. So every number which is at the right side on the number line is greater than the number which is at the left side. Again, using this concept, we can find the distance between 2 points, and otherwise you can find the distance by 2 ways. Number 1, by using number line and by using formula. So using number line, if I say that what is the distance between the point D and A, then we have to measure the unit distance in between them. For example, distance between the points A and B, distance between the point A and D. So I will count that unit distance 1, 2 and 3, means that the distance between the point A and D is 3. Secondly, if I want to find the distance between the point R and M, distance between the point R and M, don't think of that negative sign and positive sign. Signs are only there for to represent the distance, directions. So distance between the point R and M. So here again we have to count the distance, unit distance 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is at the distance between the point R and M is 4. Here negative signs and positive signs are not to be put here. You understand well. So this can be written distance between the points using the number line by counting their unit distance between them. Secondly, you can find distance between them by using their coordinates. For example, distance between the points, suppose M and A. Distance between the point A and M. For that, firstly find their coordinates. Coordinate of point A. Coordinate of point A is 1 because 1 is associated with point A. Point M, coordinate of point M is minus 2. Then your basic knowledge, which one is greater? Here 1 is greater than minus 2 because you know that 1 is at the right side of the origin, right side of that number minus 2. Or always you again know that positive number is greater than the negative number. This also you know well. And then using one formula, that is distance between the 2 points, this formula you have to remember as the larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. I will write this one here, larger coordinate minus, this is minus here, this minus sign is here, smaller coordinate. Smaller coordinate. Now, you put here again equal to sign. We know that larger coordinate is 1. So here is 1. Minus sign, this minus sign, you put here minus sign. Again, smaller coordinate is minus 2, smaller coordinate negative, so we put in the bracket. And as we know that this bracketed term is multiplied by this minus sign. So we have to multiply to this sign firstly and then the numbers. So always remember, while opening the bracket, firstly perform the product of their signs and their numbers, and then that their numbers. So 1 minus minus becomes plus, and then 2. Now, as we know that both the numbers are positive, so we do the addition. So this is 3, and so we can say that distance between the point A and M is 3. In same way, if we see here, if you count their units 1, 2, 3, you will get the same, and that's why this is by the formula. So remember this formula: distance between any two points is equals to the larger coordinates minus smaller coordinate. Larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Now, one basic thing you have to understand while calculation of this number subtraction, you get confused for the negative sign. So I will take some examples once again. Two more examples. Now look here. Suppose I take here point R and distance between the point R and N. Both are negative numbers. Both are negative numbers, R and N. I have taken separately because R with coordinates minus 6 and N with coordinates 3, minus 3. Again, you know that which one is the larger one? Here the larger coordinates, that is called as the greater coordinate, that is minus 3 is greater than minus 6. And now again using same formula, which formula is used here? The larger coordinates minus smaller coordinate. Distance between the point R and N is equals to larger coordinate. I will write the formula: larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Again, the larger coordinate is here minus 3. So I write here minus 3 as it is. This is the sign of subtraction, that is operation minus. We put in bracket the coordinate of smaller coordinate, that is minus 6, and then I open the bracket, that will become minus 3 as it is. While opening the bracket, we have to multiply by minus sign, minus plus. As we know well, here two numbers are there. Same way here are two numbers, 1 and 2. Here is also minus 3 and 6. But what is the difference in between them? Here one number is positive, one number is negative. Here both numbers are positive. So whenever two numbers are of different signs, we do their subtraction. So we do the subtraction here. Minus 3 plus 6 means becomes 3, and we put the sign of larger number, that is 6 is a larger number whose sign is plus, so plus 3 is the distance between the point R and N. So remember, whenever the different signs are there, do the subtraction and put the sign of larger number. Whenever signs are same, we do the addition. Now, from these two examples, what do we understand? We understand that the distance, whenever you find the distance between the points, which is always a positive real number, it never be negative. So distance, always remember that distance is a positive real number. Positive real, it is never negative. Now, secondly, if the 2 points, so we note from this some important points. Number 1, formula for distance between the 2 points. Distance between 2 points. Distance between 2 points. Larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. Larger coordinate minus smaller coordinate. This is the one thing that is to remember in the point of distance. Secondly, distance is a positive real number. Distance is a positive number or real number, you can say that. Distance never be negative. Third one is very important, that is, If the 2 points are lying on each other, they are not distinct. If the 2 points are not distinct, they are lying on each other, then their distance between them is 0. The distance between the points which are not distinct is always 0. Distance between the points which are not distinct. Not distinct means they are lying on each other. Are not distinct is 0. And if the points are distinct, then the distance between them is greater than 0. It means that the distance between 2 points is never less than 0. Either it's 0 or greater than 0. It is 0 only if they are not distinct, they coinciding, they lie on each other, and it is greater than 0 only if they are distinct, they are apart from each other. So these are the points. In this chapter we learn. Once again I will go for the point, line, plane, and then distance. Now the important study that is to be learned in this chapter is that betweenness. So we shall start betweenness. One minute, please. Betweenness. Betweenness is the very important point in geometry. Let us recall, that is you can say that collinear points. For example, we can take a number line or a line, and I say that these are the 3 points A, B and C lying on a line. It means that point A, B and C are the collinear points. Means there exists a line containing all these 3 points, and that's why these points A, B and C are the collinear. So you must recall this definition first, because this is the basic condition for betweenness. To understand the betweenness, the points should be the collinear. So we shall consider now the collinear points, means the points which are lying on a line. They are lying on a line. Betweenness we shall study in the next part.